The Hedgeless Horseman here. This is the first video after coming back from PDAC and the Metals Investor Forum. So just like to start out with discussing a bit about the conference, I guess. First of all, this is a satellite image of Toronto, and here you have the Delta hotels. This is where the Metals Investor Forum was located, and here you actually have the entrance to PDAC, at least to the southern building. There's also the northern building here where there's a lot of other exhibitions. I would say that in the south is where I mostly hung out. The funny part is I actually bought a full access pass. I didn't really use that at all. It means if you have full access pass, you can get into the presentations and technical talks and yada yada, a bunch of other stuff. I didn't have time to go to a single one really. I was mostly on the floor where the booths are. You run into people, and that was basically it. Because already going in, my main interest going to PDAC was to actually just meet a bunch of people that you maybe have talked to online or met a few times before, because Lord knows there's not a lot of, mining people in Sweden, for example. So most people, let's say, management teams and whatever, that you're invested in their stock, you talk to them, but never met them in person. So that was the main attraction for me. I didn't really go to PDAC to find new stories and get my mind blown by some junior company I'd never heard about. Maybe one could do more of that, but I felt it was more important just to get to know the people behind the companies I already own. Basically just to confirm that they are the cases are as good as they look, let's say, and the management teams are as great as they seem to be. That's basically what ended up happening. And it was kind of interesting. It's like, I don't know how many followers I have on Twitter, like 13,500 or something, and vast majority doesn't really interact with me. No likes, no comments. So it was kind of funny just to see how many people you run into, and when you end up introducing yourself as the Hedgeless Horseman, I got a lot of "You're the Hedgeless Horseman," comments like that, and some people thought I would be older than I am, but it was all great fun. Thankfully the reaction was a positive one, like "You're the Hedgeless Horseman," not "You're the Hedgeless Horseman." So I take that as some confirmation that there are people out there who appreciate what I do, and that I don't have let's say a overall bad reputation. That's my view on it anyway. And there were events and dinners and parties, etc., spread all over the Toronto city center. I gotta say, it's like, I live in Stockholm. I think the traffic can be bad there, but Toronto takes the cake. It was the most insane traffic I've ever seen. I would not want to take my redo my driver's license in Toronto. Anyway, I thought it might be interesting for people who haven't been to PDAC. This was my first, or the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, to just get a grasp of the layout. Pretty much, as you can see, it's very central. You have the CN tower right here, which is, I guess it's called the Needle as well. So that was very helpful, just to be able to orientate myself, because for some reason I didn't have internet connection on my phone. I couldn't roam, so I only had Wi-Fi on. If I was at the conference, then I could link up to the PDAC's Wi-Fi, or at my hotel, or at the MIF, or if there was a restaurant or whatever with free Wi-Fi that you were either at or passed by. So it was let's say I haven't been too active, as you probably could tell, and there were I shared news on Twitter, but I actually didn't post them to my website, because most of the time I was so dead tired when I got back home during the evening night. But now I think I published most of the news that came out. I mean, there was a bunch of news early, just before PDAC, which is typical. I won't have time to go through the news items right now. But yeah, so that's the lay of the land basically. This is the entrance. I typically took this route here. And you get in, and there's many different levels to PDAC. The exhibition booths for the juniors were, I think, 3 levels down or something. And here you have the northern building, where a lot of more industry companies, if you know what I mean, like drilling services and stuff like that was here. But I think all the junior miners, explorers, etc., were in the southern parts of the conference. I have some pictures. They are not in order. This is the view from my hotel on a quite snowy day. The weather was, it was volatile. Some days it was snowy and cold and windy, etc. Some days the sun shined and was pretty great, except for it being cold still. Picture of the Needle during the CN Tower during one of those. I think it was during the day of the snowstorm. I'm not 100% sure, but you can see, I can barely make it out. On my way home, a lot of flights were delayed, including mine, because of the weather. This is the CN Tower during night when they lit it up. I actually was tempted to go up here, but I never got to do it. I think this is after I landed back in Sweden, I think. This is from I think this is from PDAC, taken from a sky bridge that links the southern and northern parts of the conference. And I was actually surprised. I thought Toronto was kind of similar size to Stockholm, and I didn't expect many skyscrapers really, but it turned out to have a lot of skyscrapers, and it is bigger than Stockholm. So it actually did feel like a major city. I think there's 3 to 4 million inhabitants in Toronto. So no, that was a pleasant surprise, actually, to see something different than Stockholm at least. Quite impressive, I would say. This is from the MIF. When I visited I didn't take pictures from all booths, etc. I was kinda, I don't know, low key. You never know. I mean, I didn't want to take too many pictures of people. You want to check first, etc. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, because it's most of the stuff you kind of already know. But I got a rundown on the geology from Mikko, who's with Firefox Gold, and he explained, Mustajärvi, the discovery there is I think it looks better or sounds better after talking to Mikko than one might think, given the subdued share price reaction to the recent more high grade hits, etc. So I got something out of that for sure, and it's just interesting to see how let's say weird the mineralization looks. Mikko is a great guy. Met him in Finland before. A smart young geologist. This is from within the actual southern building of the conference. I think this is the ground floor, and this is the first escalator down. So you can see how some of the majors really want to be front and center, and then you go to another escalator that takes you down further. So it was basically a jungle. I mean, there's multiple floors, 2 different buildings, endless amount of booths at the bottom floor, and there's like conferences going on all over the place. I missed every single presentation. I missed Friedland's. I think Ross Beatty had a presentation as well. I missed every company presentation. I do think they have presentations as well, but it's like I've already seen all of the presentations by the companies I'm invested in and like, so I didn't feel like I would get much out of that actually, but more after speaking to management one-on-one. This is from the northern building, I think. More, let's say, I don't even know what these companies do, but like geological something. I think like drill place, and there were like representatives from many countries. I mean, I saw that SGU, which is like the Sweden Geological Survey, a state entity that's tied into geology and mining, etc. They had a booth here actually. And on the way over, I met a guy from Greenland on the plane, who was they had a team here as well. So it's like there's a bunch of countries. I think there was like Bolivia Day Bolivia Day when they had a big conference or a presentation, and Peru I heard had like 100 representatives or something. So it's like everybody's really here. I mean, it's just insane how much. I mean, if you would actually talk to every player of interest or whatever, it's like you would probably need another week. And a funny story is like on the way over, flying from Stockholm via Iceland to Toronto. When we left Iceland on Iceland Air and we went over the southern tip of Greenland, we hit some heavy turbulence, most turbulence I've ever seen while flying. And it's like there were women crying, and a woman next to me kind of screaming, dear God, dear God. So no, that was just a interesting start to the trip, pretty much. That's like you fly with people who think that this plane is probably gonna go down because turbulence was so heavy. After that, I don't think many people slept on the plane because everybody's adrenaline had spiked. But that was interesting. Magna Mining, their booth. Got a chance to talk to Jason and Paul and other people who are involved with Magna. I talked to one guy. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's helping with. Well, he's a specialist in permitting, basically, and it was nice to hear him say just how good it is that Green Hill, for example, is a past-producing mine. So, as far as I understand it, don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but the sense I got is that that's pretty much, since it's a past-producing mine, how it works there is that it shouldn't be too difficult to get Green Hill into production, because it would technically be like restarting a mine. which is obviously very good. It's like you never know, because you see permitting is so hard across the sector. So that was a real positive surprise to hear him say that he don't think there's going to be a tough slog to get Green Hill, at least into the, I guess, bulk sampling phase, etc. Again, it's so rare in this sector that you kind of don't really believe it, because you see all these projects get delayed, and it's like permits can take years and years. But it sounds like that won't actually be the case with Green Hill, which is obviously really good. And this is, I think, the core you can vote on. You can guess the grade. I have no idea what this is going to run, but the interesting thing is that, I mean, I think this is from the new quote discovery, 1 kilometer away from the Green Hill deposit. So at first, I mean, one might have an idea that this is going to be open pit, lower grade, etc. But I think, if I'm not wrong, I think we can see some plus 1% nickel hits here. Actually, I mean, why else would they highlight the core? And they were invited to be at the core shack, and you have to be invited to do that. It's like someone told me, it's like, visit the companies at the core shack because they probably have good stories, because they've been invited to present their good looking core. So yeah, it's basically let's say a bit of an exclusive club that ones with let's say the best mineralization ends up getting invited. So that's another positive. And it's like, I didn't follow the markets too much while I was at PDAC. I simply didn't have the time. It was like I did sneak a peek now and then when very, very volatile week during the PDAC week. I don't remember what triggered it, but it's like all my juniors are selling off. Because the funny thing is, take a case like Magna or other companies I visited. It's like, I think they are no-brainers. It's like they are the best of the best. Not only are they, great, quality management, quality assets, all of that, growth pipeline, yada yada. They're cheap as well. So I was just thinking, I heard there were like 40,000 registrants for PDAC, and I was thinking like, hey, I mean, assuming let's say 200 people visits every booth or whatever of a high quality junior. It's like one would expect that if they didn't own the stock or own too little, let's say, that they would quickly realize that, oh my god, I mean, the stores like this are no-brainer buys. I'm probably underexposed, or I am not exposed at all, etc. So I was thinking like, I would expect that if people actually understood the cases in these stocks or stories from speaking to management, if they didn't before that, I would expect heavy buying across multiple juniors, simply because they're way too cheap. But that was the funny part. Like, no, when the markets tanked, etc., you couldn't really tell. I mean, everything went down. Magna went from, I don't know what it started off, 120 or something. I think it hit like, a few days ago, or maybe yesterday actually, 2 days ago, it's like 83 cents or something. And that's on the back of them putting out good news, and one would think that more people got acquainted with the story. It's like, I spoke to a guy from Boliden who said he was Swedish. They have a team looking at juniors, and he was aware of the story. They've been following it for 2 years. So it's like, okay, Boliden is 13 billion market cap or something. Okay, they're aware of the story. Been watching for 2 years. And I saw Japanese guys come and go from the Magna mining booth. I mean, there are no Japanese juniors, so they got to be like, I don't know, Mitsubishi or car companies, etc., who would want the nickel product for their production chain. So like you see all these majors looking at a company like Magna. They obviously don't go in and buy in the market, but it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of people who like look at a case like Magna. Hey, there's serious value here. You have something we would prefer to have, or we are very interested in. But like if you look at the actual share price action, which is driven by retail, they couldn't care less. So it's to me, PDAC taught me it's like it seems there's just a massive dislocation. Again, that's like you can have these high quality juniors, majors, multinationals, they're all over them. But that doesn't show up in the open market, obviously, their interest. But retail's like totally oblivious to what's going on. I mean, I think Magna is way too cheap. I mean, that's just, I think it's one of the cheapest stocks out there. That was just fascinating to see. It's like, okay, because you didn't see any, buying pressure, like, okay, so... And of course, I don't know how many actual retail or potential investors actually visited the booth. Maybe it was just, larger companies, let's say, who don't, again, won't show up in the open market. Still, it's like seriously dislocated. It's like retail, this sector is so cheap. Retail has no idea about it, it seems. Or they get scared shitless when the market tanks or whatever. It's like, it was just a reminder, like, we're not crazy. I'm not crazy. The high quality juniors, they are just egregiously undervalued because you can see the interest from large players, but retail has no idea. They see the stock price go down. They think like, there was one guy kind of bash me in the forum because I haven't raved about Magna in the last week or so. It's like, assuming I've sold. It's like, no, how much do you need to, check up on Magna? It's like they have the best team in place. They are cashed up. Majors are interested. Dundee averaged up at 105, I think, not 3 weeks ago. And the story's gotten even better since then. So it's like, what else can I do? Just, I'm so comfortable with Magna. I don't need to, let's say, pump the shit out of the story every day, because it's like, hey, they're doing great job. They're doing a great job. They keep creating value. It's just stupid cheap. And I don't know when it's not going to be stupid cheap anymore. But hey. I think this is a winner. I just don't know when, and it's not going to help. It's not going to go any faster if I look at the ticker every day. This is Union Station, entrance to Union Station. Here you can see the needle in the background. Just a good-looking building. The Elora booth. Got a chance to talk to Bill Pearson and Osvaldo Arce. Really great guys. I mean, it's like, they sound exactly the same in private as in presentations. They're very bullish on Eloro. I mean, they think they are onto a real winner, world-class discovery, and who am I to argue? Unfortunately, Tom wasn't there, so I didn't have a chance to speak to him. I think they were also at the Core Shack, actually. So they also had an invite in that case. So kind of, again, says something about the quality of what they're hitting, let's say. It's a high-profile story, which I think is, like Magna, very cheap. Here we have Osvaldo. We talked about a bunch of different things. Also how they're looking after the communities, etc. It sounds like whatever locals are there are quite happy with Eloro, and again, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that you need to do nowadays, like again taking care of the local communities and have, you know, form relationships, etc. So I'm very anxious to see what, you know, they might hit at depth over at the tin target, obviously. This is from Western Alaska core. I think, yeah, they were probably also at the core shack. I mean, this is, as you can see, I mean, it's almost, I was going to say solid metal. There's like metal and there's rocks in it. Over 50% of lead and zinc. Almost 1 kilogram of silver. Yeah, just in my opinion, one of the most no-brainer growth stories there is. Unfortunately, you can see in the presentation, but it's like their latest news release with geophysics targets, etc. last hurrah, for example. I mean, that looks like probable significant growth. I think Western Alaska is going to be a winner. I do think they will need to raise money. I wouldn't be surprised to see a major or a strategic investor at least, because like there's not many of these around. Probably a fully intact CRD system which shows superb grades. Not too many of the, especially at the widths they are hitting it as well. So it's kind of a unique case, I would say. Another one with the needle. This is the Tintina Gold Breakfast. I don't remember which day it was. But yeah, so like I've been, you know, thinking, okay, bang for the buck. Obviously, I like these Tintina gold stories, intrusion related ones. Here we have Simon Ridgway, Tony Rada, Scott Bergdahl. I don't remember. She's from Banyan. I don't remember her name. I'm invested in these three: Tectonic, Snowline, and Rakla. And here you have Quinton, obviously, who was the moderator. And yeah, on that note, today we saw B2 Gold take a stake in Snowline. That's a good sign for all of these companies. That is one idea I'm playing around with. Like, yeah, you know, assuming this region actually does heat up, they're all after, you know, very big targets. I met with the Tectonic team, Bill Stormont, I think his name is, and I don't remember the name of the other gentleman. I had a one-on-one with Scott. Had a meeting with Simon Ridgway. He's quite famous in the sector. And also ran into him at a dinner, actually. But yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on all of these. I mean, Snowline, I think it's going to be huge, or is big and might be huge. Tectonic, very, very attractive proposition. I mean, they already know they have gold, etc. The question is how big it is. I don't think it's pricing in a large mine. So it's like, as always, you know, you can't win on every single one. But I think if either one of these three work out and I hold them for a long time, they're going to pay for the other two, whichever they may be, that does not end up making a significant discovery. And there's also obviously the possibility of 1, 2, or even 3 that all of them make significant discoveries. That's, you know, how you diversify. I mean, a stock can only go to 0, so you can lose 100%. If one of these companies doubles, they would pay for another that went to 0, which typically doesn't happen too much. So just another point on, you know, you don't need too many big winners to pay for a lot of losers, but the only way to get a big winner is you probably have to hold it for X amount of years. If you're in any of these and you sell it after a 50% pop, that's not going to pay for. I mean, let's say one is a success story. You sell it after 50% pop because you're so happy to have been in the green in one case. That's not a multi-bagger. That's not going to pay for the risks in this sector. So you have to kind of, you know, swing it big. Typically hold a winner for a long time. And who knows, maybe at the end of the day they might go south or whatever. But like with Snowline, I'm pretty sure they have a multi-million ounce deposit, and it appears that B2 Gold is thinks so as well. I'm up on Snowline, but I'm not. I haven't sold my. I've taken some profits along the way, but now the story just got a bit better. We have third-party validation coming in at a premium. Now they can unlock even more value potentially because they have even more money. So, I mean, it's not like, according to B2 Gold, they would argue that, hey, this story is just beginning. But if you sold out now, it's like, yeah, you're happy with today's 10% pop. You sold the whole position. I would say that kind of cutting your flowers short or too early, let's say. Would I be surprised if Snowline went to $1 billion? Nope. In that case, from here, it would pay for, let's say, any of these two stories went to zero. Yeah, so this is Simon Ridgway, and let's see here. I can't read this. Seth? I apologize if you're watching this. There were so many names, new people. But great guys, had a lot of fun. Both had a good sense of humor. This is in one of the one-on-one booths. This is me on the way to the airport when I was from the airport in Toronto to my hotel when I was kinda lost. It was like one of those Gotham trains, sky trains. So this is picture just outside. Here's the entrance, at least entrance I used to PDAC. To the right off screen here you have the Delta Hotel where the MIF was. To the left here off screen you have the CN Needle, the CN Tower. So this entrance here is basically this. So my picture was taken from here looking that way. And here you have the Delta, here you have the Needle. Scotty Resources, visited their booth. Got a chance to talk with the guys at Scotty Resources. Also one of the a great case, I think. When I wrote it up, the simple case was, hey, I think they're gonna, given how good hits they've had this early on, I think they're gonna hit more high grade gold, and so far they keep doing that. So it's like, I think this has potentially quite a long ways to grow yet. I don't think it's I still think it's cheap. Picture of Toronto in the evening, quite close to the PDAC, I would say. It was just a nice picture. Montage Gold, this is from the MIF conference where they have the booths out in the, well, not really booths, but like tables, and table like this where you can go and talk to. I talked to Adam from Montage, just basically got confirmation. So yeah, I think this is also a no-brainer. Problem with Montage is obviously, problem and opportunity is obviously that it's in Côte d'Ivoire, Africa. So when sentiment is bad, typically African plays get even cheaper. But it's like, yeah, they're having a lot of success. I think this could grow a lot. I don't think the market really appreciates how many targets they have on their new ground. I wouldn't be surprised if this reaches, 6 million plus at the end of the day. Could really be a major mine. It's like, major mining complex. I don't know what the market cap is right now, but it sure isn't much. And we know, Lundin's, etc. They have a whole swath of majors invested. Lundin's, I think, added in the recent financing. It's like, yeah, okay, Lundin's, they're investors. They are not buying. I think it's actually below where they added recently. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like, yeah, the Lundins, they are after multi-baggers. They're not buying in to have a 50% pop or something. No, they invest because they think project has a lot of room to run and is probably going to get acquired one day at multiples of where they bought in. So it's like, again, this sector isn't hard when you think about it, because you can buy stuff at the same level or cheaper as the best investors in the entire space. And it's like, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out these are undervalued. And if this becomes a significant mine, it's probably worth more than 70 million or 80, 90 or whatever it's valued at right now. Headwater Gold. This is from MIF. They had the piece of core from Spring Peak. These red circles are VG. You can't see it here, but there is actually VG in the core in their epithermal gold system. Very bullish on Headwater. I spent a lot of time with the team, the Inflection Headwater team, which is basically part of the new Quest Capital Group. If there's a group of people you probably should start looking at and follow. I mean, these are as good as it gets, I would say. And there's a reason I spend so much time with them. It's like I have huge respect for them. They are great people. Got to know them, got to know the team better. Met Alistair for the first time, Caleb for the first time, Brennan, Wendell, Antti, Tero, and maybe. No, I think that was about it. Also fun is like I was talking to an older gentleman, looked kind of unassuming, not in a full suit or whatever, and then he walked away, and I heard, he's a, let's say, major player in Australia. It's like, sometimes you can't really tell. That's the funny part as well. It's like, you never judge a book by its cover. No, just a funny anecdote. That there's like, you never know, especially if you don't know every player in the space. It's like, I met a bunch of people where I heard afterwards, like, you know who that is, right? It's like, no, and I have no idea. And apparently they are very big players or famous discoverers or something like that. So again, it's like when you're not born and raised in the Vancouver or Toronto mining spheres, like, it's hard to know everybody. But this is obviously a first step to be able to network, etc. This is from a MIF presentation. I think this was the first presentation I actually went to. The presentations were held right next to the actual corridor where the booths were, so it was much easier to just drop in and out for presentations. But you could tell, it's like, the crowd, very old, mean age probably around, if I had to guess, like 50, 60 at least. So I think this kind of highlights that there's not many new investors. So what does that tell you? It's like, unfortunately, as people get older, they kind of, retire or, die or whatever. So I think that partly explains why this sector is so cheap, because there's no real new investors that have entered the space. So I think that's a huge opportunity for anyone who is actually following this space. Basically, that there's less net buyers, which means prices tend to get even cheaper. So I think I couldn't be more bullish on commodities, basically, especially the miners. I think they're so cheap. Well, that was the last picture, I think. Here just made a list of, people. These aren't even all, but like companies I visited. Some of the people I spoke to, I don't have all the names, and sometimes you met people at a dinner or at a pub or something, and you don't really remember them all. I probably met like 40-50 people, new people. Many of them I might have spoken to before, but not all. So it's just basically in 1 week you had more impressions, new impressions, than you typically have in a whole year. So there's a lot of things to digest. And yeah, got to meet Brent Cook, Jay Taylor, Chen Lin, Eric Coffin, Tavi and Costa, Tavi and Kevin from Crescat, obviously. Talked to Irving, and met Akiko for the first time, met Scott for the first time, met Michael Bennett of Altamira for the first time, David Lowton and the people from Orion Gold for the first time. Really impressed with that story. Patrick Highsmith and Mikko met both before. Sean Kun for the first time of Dolly Warden and Strike Point, etc. Western Alaska met Kit, Joe and Vanessa. Really great people. I mean, the interesting thing is, like, since I'm relatively young in this sector, and I have no idea, what my, let's say, reputation is. I mean, when you meet some of these, let's say, older gentlemen, Kit and Joe, I mean, I talked to them before, so they know who I am. But, like, you'd be surprised how nice a lot of the management, people are in the good juniors. I mean, there's a reason why their cases are good and you're bullish. It's like, typically that goes with really stand-up people. It's like Jason and Paul, for example, of Magna. It's like great people, fun people. Had a lot of laughs with Paul. I had Irving twice. Met Quinton, obviously. No shocker there. Here's the Headwater Inflection team. Parts of it, at least. I spent quite a bit of time talking to Alpha Exploration with Alistair and Berhaney. I mean, main takeaways, like, and Ellie from E2 Gold. Glad to, was good to hear an update on E2 Gold. I still own shares. And I talked also to Quinton about the project, because I wasn't sure if the McKinnon zone, etc. I mean, if that was still seen as highly prospective, but it sounds like, I mean, that story is far from over, so I'm glad to hear that. I think all of these companies are great, actually. The new ones, kind of new ones, Strike Point Gold, they picked up an epithermal project, which looks very interesting in Nevada. Not too far off from the Silicon project. I think that's one to put on the watch list. I'm not too keen on getting in pre-discovery, I would say, because, like, in Headwater you already have 2 discoveries, for example, of epithermal. Same with Irving. But it's definitely one to watch, I think, because if that target is, if they make a discovery, it could be a pretty big one. Western Red Lake also has consolidated some ground, and they have a pre-existing resource. That's now on my watch list as well. I mean, Reclam Metals I already own. Really fun to talk to Simon Ridgway, and again, it's like Simon Ridgway is a high-profile guy, but it's like as nice as it comes. Again, it's like you might think that Simon Ridgway, since he's so well known in with Fortuna Silver, had a lot of success. You might think that some might look at you like, who's this young guy? I mean, because I don't have any discoveries to my name. It's like, no, super nice. I had a great talk with him. The Tectonic guys, again, old school geologists, competent, really nice. Scott, obviously, real nice guy. Again, all of these, like Reclam Metals, great target, their Astro Target, Tectonic, Flat Gold Project, Snowline Valley, etc., etc. Altamira with their Bonita target. Michael, also really nice guy. First time I met him, first time I talked to him. The Orion guys, I mean, they basically control a large part of the underexplored Finnish gold belt. Got a chance to speak with David Lowton for quite some time. really fascinating guy, super smart. Like I was gonna say a lexicon on capital markets, etc. Really happy to meet him. Sean Kun, really fun to meet him for the first time since we spoke, quite often. I mean, Dolly Warden is going places, I think. I mean, looks better than ever. Firefox Gold, I would say, also looks better than ever with their new high-grade discoveries. E2 Gold, very large land holding, very large targets. Early stage, but it's like, yeah, there's got to be something hiding, with their kilometers of strike. There's so much smoke there. Obviously, they're looking for kind of a Hemlo type discovery, and who knows, maybe they will pull it off. But I'm looking forward to that. I spoke a lot with Alistair and Berhaney of Alpha Exploration. Obviously, the story better than ever with their what's the name? I've forgotten the name of the gold project. They're gonna focus a lot on that. That could be a multi-million ounce discovery. Met Mike Spreadborough of Nova Resources. Really, really fun guy, actually. I mean, funny thing is that he's very professional, and almost a bit dry, let's say, during the interviews or presentations for but it's like, no, just a really easygoing, fun guy. I mean, his credentials kind of speaks for itself. He was, I think, mine manager for the first time at 26 years old. Became the mine manager of Olympic Dam, which is a world famous mine, Australia, owned by BHP. Huge mine. He was mine manager starting at the age of 33, I think. So it's like, you don't get that much responsibility in a, operation of that scale unless you're highly competent and talented. So really nice guy. He's very bullish on Novo. I think he's really the right guy for the job. When I think about it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird that he, since when he started off, Novo was kind of, having a lot of troubles, etc., that he would even, take on this challenge. So I think Novo is actually very blessed to have Mike. Western Alaska, yeah, Kit, Joe, and Vanessa, yeah, superb, nice people. Down to earth, huge skin in the game. They might actually have more than one CRD system even on their project. So it's like early stage. In terms of potential for Western Alaska. So that's what I like with all of them. I mean, all of these stories here could be like multi-year hodls from here. And one might pay for, assuming they reach close to blue sky, or, if blue sky is very large, maybe they reach 50% of blue sky, they might pay for 5 or 10 other stories. That's the beauty of it. It's like, I just don't, I think there's a lot with... give it time with people like this. Allure Resources, obviously, the story. World-class discovery, might be, who knows, twice as big. Montage, world-class. Lundins and all that. Yeah, Inflection, Headwater. Inflection will probably soon be backed by Anglo Gold. That they have actually signed off on the agreement. In that case, possibly multi-year exploration efforts that's being paid for by either Newcrest and Anglo Gold in each respective case. As smart as they come. They have listed 2 juniors. Both have, soon both will have probably agreed to $140 million plus earning deals. The kind of deals they made, you don't see those deals as good as that in many juniors. And not only the spending, both have included free carry to PFS, pre-feasibility studies. It's like somebody I talked to who said that, hey, a pre-feasibility study on, especially, I guess, a porphyry discovery in case, or a porphyry deposit in case of inflection, that might cost like 100 million. So it's not even the let's say max earning amount that's in the news release. The actual value might be a lot higher than that, because that's not factoring in free carry to pre-feasibility stage. They're just dirt cheap. Irving Resources. I mean, I think this has been a sleeper, and it's probably not going to be might not be a sleeper for too much time yet. Or my English is getting bad. COVID put everything on hold for like 2 years. Now it sounds like the story is probably the best it's ever been, I would say. Obviously backed by a Newmont and Sumitomo. And Magna Mining, I mean, again, I talked a lot about Magna Mining already. I would say, at least to me, since I would say these, well, maybe E2 Gold is a bit too actually high, since it's not technically a discovery yet, I would say. Well, except for that, but the other ones is like, yeah, I think they're absolute kind of no-brainers. They have something already, and all are so cheap that if they turn out to have one significant discovery or more, and the sentiment levels in this sector gets a bit better over the next 3 years, yeah, I think any one of these could pay for, well, yeah, half, or in some cases all of the other ones. So that's why I think this right now, because this sector is so cheap, even with the de-risked plays, even with the highest quality plays. I mean, this sector is super easy when you think about it. It's just that for that strategy to play out, you have to give it time. I have no idea where any of these will trade tomorrow, next week, next month, not even next 6 months. But if I were just theoretically to hold all of these stories at equal weightings over the next 3 years, the probability that I would be losing money is very low, I think. Very, very low. Thus, with time, that's how this sector becomes easy. So I'll do a few more videos later on, I guess. I covered more things than I thought actually right now, and probably will need to go through some news that has been out that I haven't commented on. But I guess main takeaway for me is like, I just basically went up there to get confirmation and meet the team and the teams, and I would say that all stories are. My conviction has just increased. That's pretty much it. And I guess it's confirmation that okay, my spider senses, are working. That okay, good story. Ought to be good people behind them, and I think that's the case. So I'm I'm happy with the projects, the price levels they're selling at. I'm happy with the management teams, etc., etc. So the rest is just waiting, basically, to wait. Consider me biased. Do your own due diligence. Assume I might buy or sell shares at any point in time. I don't share your profits or your losses. Some are sponsors. Some are sponsors of my site. So consider me twice biased. And don't risk money you cannot afford to lose. Don't just buy a stock because I like it. I can't hold. Like I got reminded today. It's like I'm not gonna hold everyone's hand every single day. If you don't understand, you must see the case. You must know. What the case is, why you own something. I can't transfer conviction. And like always, if I like all of these companies equally much, let's say, and some goes up on no news, some goes down on no news, I might reshuffle. Because I'm always all in. So I might, who knows, I might buy and sell the same story now and then simply because price changed and one opportunity got better than another, yada yada. I could still be bullish on all, but I'm keenly aware of the, let's say, price to value gap and opportunity cost. The projects doesn't change a lot in a week typically. If there's no news, no change has happened. But prices change. So the opportunities change. Might change on a daily basis. Just be aware of that. It's like, again, right now I don't see a reason to be net out of any of these. But some, I have higher weightings in, etc., etc. You get the point. Again, do what feels right for you. I'm just saying how, these are my 2 cents on these stories. I'll probably do some more videos later. Thanks for listening. Hit the thumbs up button if you like it, or post a comment on the video if there's any questions, for example. Thanks for listening. Bye.